Sometimes it feels like the football world is losing its mind. All week we've heard endless praise for this one team. Analysts calling them the next big thing, even suggesting they're ready to win the AFC West. Some are hyping them like they've already punched their playoff ticket. One writer even compared their quarterback to Patrick Mahomes. But then I stumble across a PFF article ranking NFL quarterbacks, and I'm left wondering, did they even watch the games last season? We're diving into that list today. We'll break down where they place Bo Nix, and let me just say, it's a joke. Not elite, not top tier, not even a high-end starter. That's just disrespectful. We'll be refuting these takes with real data, actual stats that show how Bo Nix stacks up against guys who got ranked ahead of him. And speaking of the AFC West, OTAs have kicked off, and things are already looking shaky for the Raiders. On top of that, we've got some fresh dysfunction brewing in Cincinnati. Yes, more drama from the Bengals camp. Now back to the rankings. According to PFF, Bo Nix wasn't placed in the elite category, not in the top 3, not even listed among the solid starters. Instead, he's grouped with players who haven't played a single NFL snap. You've got names like Bryce Young, who was benched last season, J.J. McCarthy, still a mystery after dealing with injuries, Drake May and Michael Penix, small sample sizes, and then there's Caleb Williams, who really struggled last year. Cam Ward, he hasn't even lasted more than 2 weeks on a roster. Comparing Nix to these guys is ridiculous. Just look at last season. Statistically, Bo Nix was right there with the top college QBs, just barely behind Jaden Daniels in production, despite having significantly less talent around him. That says a lot. He's more efficient than system QBS like Jared Goff. He's more consistent than Geno Smith, who, by the way, just threw 4 picks in practice against the Raiders defense. And he's more polished than guys like Brock Purdy, who was the final pick in the 7th round. To say Bo Nix isn't even a solid starter is simply wrong. In fact, Denver has surrounded him with real help, giving him a much better setup than what Russell Wilson had. So yes, Bo Nix should be considered a top 10 quarterback in the league, based on his potential, his accuracy, and how well he fits in this new-look offense. Let's break down some numbers and show exactly why PFF got it wrong. Now let's talk about what really matters, performance under pressure, and how Bo Nix delivered despite being a rookie with one of the toughest schedules in the league. No tight end, no 100-yard rusher to take the pressure off. Still, Nix finished top 6 in completions across the entire NFL. That's impressive for any quarterback, let alone a first-year starter. In terms of completion percentage, he's among the top 15. And keep in mind, this is the most accurate quarterback in NCAA history we're talking about. That level of precision translated well to the pros. Total passing yards, he cracked the top 12. Touchdowns, this one's big. Nix was a top 10 quarterback in touchdown passes. And again, he did it without elite weapons around him. Out of the 50-plus quarterbacks who saw game action last year, Nix ranked 6th in total production. And if you remove his first 2 rough starts, his numbers jump even higher, putting him comfortably in the top 5 in multiple categories. He elevated his game when it mattered most. One standout moment, that game against Cleveland on Monday Night Football, 4th quarter, pressure mounting. Nix unleashed a deep strike that reminded fans of vintage gunslingers. Not many rookies make that kind of throw under the lights. Another defining performance came in a Saturday night football game that was flexed into prime time. The Broncos had just over a minute to go the length of the field. On 4th and 1 with 14 seconds left, the pocket collapsed. Nix escaped, extended the play with his legs, and delivered a strike to Marvin Mims to tie the game. And remember, he was playing through a fractured back. That's grit you can't teach, and the numbers back it all up. Second most touchdown passes ever by a rookie, behind only Jaden Daniels. Highest completion percentage for a rookie QB in NFL history. First rookie to ever post a 300-yard, 4-touchdown game with a 140-plus passer rating. Yet somehow he's being ranked below players who haven't proven anything. It's clear, Bo Nix did more with less than any other quarterback on that list. Even seasoned NFL writers are starting to push back on these rankings. Analysts on social media are calling it what it is, a massive oversight. Honestly, being doubted might be the best thing for Denver. The Broncos thrive when they're overlooked, and right now the national media is doing us a huge favor. Honestly, all the hype the Broncos were getting earlier may not have helped. This recent doubt, it might just be exactly what the team needs to get grounded and focused. And here's the encouraging part. Last season's numbers from Bo Nix might be just the beginning. With the offensive upgrades coming in, we could be looking at a much higher ceiling. Pat Bryant stepping into the slot receiver role could be a game changer. Expect to see more production from Marvin Mims, and Troy Franklin is another name to watch. This offense has more firepower than it did a year ago, and that's saying something. Now let's talk about what's not making sense. Geno Smith being ranked as a top 10 quarterback, that's a stretch. His stats were fine, but the eye test told a different story, especially when we faced him in the season opener. Denver nearly pulled off the win, and that was with Bo Nix making his first ever NFL start on the road. Smith, meanwhile, had elite talent at receiver and still didn't stand out. Now that he's with the Raiders, things are already unraveling. He threw 3 interceptions during OTAs against a defense that was statistically the worst in the NFL last year. And don't forget, Las Vegas also lost key starters from their secondary. So if Smith is struggling now, it's hard to imagine that top 10 label holding up. In other news out of Raiders camp, while no one roots for injuries, it looks like they'll be without Christian Wilkins to start the season. He was their major free agency acquisition and one of the highest paid defensive tackles in the league. Ironically, he was injured celebrating a sack in the Denver game and hasn't recovered yet. He's still in a walking boot, and based on updates, it looks like his return could take a while. But while the media continues to overlook Bo Nix, they are starting to take notice of Denver's defense, and rightfully so. According to recent analytics, the Broncos don't just have one of the top sack duos in the NFL, they've got multiple pass rush tandems showing up in the rankings. They're ahead of defensive units like the Vikings, Texans, and Ravens. That kind of consistency in getting to the quarterback is rare. And it's not just the stars. DeAndre Tillman put up 5 sacks last year and looks primed to improve. Jonah Ellis, despite playing through a shoulder injury most of the season, also notched 5 sacks as a rookie. This defense is deep, hungry, and trending upward, and that's going to take pressure off Nix and give Denver a real shot at contending in the AFC West. Keep an eye on young talents like Savell Smalls and Key Robinson, players already drawing buzz as potential draft steals. While some outlets continue to downplay Bo Nix, at least the Broncos' defense is finally getting the respect it deserves, and they'll have no choice but to keep recognizing it, because this defense has the potential to take over games. If the Broncos build early leads, this defense is going to close games out. When opposing teams are forced to throw, Denver's pass rush becomes lethal. So, congratulations to teams like the Raiders for adding weapons like Zamir White and Michael Gallup, but if they're trailing by 2 scores, play action isn't going to fool anyone. And when the play action breaks down, quarterbacks like Geno Smith won't have time to operate, especially not against Denver's rotation of aggressive edge rushers. Other good news? The Cincinnati Bengals are already facing serious issues. Star edge rusher Trey Hendrickson is holding out and won't participate in OTAs. Meanwhile, the rookie drafted to help replace him hasn't signed his contract and is sitting out as well. That means the Bengals' most critical defensive pieces are nowhere to be found during off-season prep, and this is a defense that was already thin. The Broncos face the Bengals on Monday Night Football, and while it's likely Hendrickson returns by then, reports suggest he might be pushing for a trade. Either way, Cincinnati's dysfunction shows just how different things are in Denver right now. The culture that Sean Payton is building is clearly working, and the contrast couldn't be clearer. Now let's quickly run through a few league meeting updates that actually impact the Broncos this season. 1. The tush-push debate. The league voted on whether to ban the tush-push, that controversial QB sneak play the Eagles have used so effectively. The Broncos were among 22 teams that voted to eliminate it. Unfortunately, 24 votes were needed for the ban to pass, so it stays in the game. While it's a tough play to defend, it's not all bad news. Plays where offensive linemen push a running back forward, like what we saw with Javonte Williams last season, are still allowed. So while the Eagles can keep using the tush push, Denver's power run game can still capitalize on those gritty, push-the-pile moments. The good news? We only have to face the Eagles once this season, unless, of course, we see them again in the Super Bowl. Another league rule change that plays right into our hands involves onside kicks. The new rule allows teams to attempt onside kicks at any time in the game, not just in the fourth quarter. Plus, the kicking team now lines up 1 yard closer, making the recovery odds slightly better. This is a massive win for the Broncos. Why? Because we have the best special teams coordinator in the NFL, hands down. Rizzy is the real deal. The guy was nearly a head coach last year and could have gone anywhere. He chose Denver. If you're giving any edge to a guy who once called a surprise onside kick in the Super Bowl and won because of it, yeah, I'll take that every time. Now, the last proposal on the table was about reseeding the playoffs. The idea was to seed teams purely by record, not by whether they won their division. So a wild card team with a better record than a division champ would have gotten the higher seed. That rule change didn't pass, and here's the twist. Sean Payton voted against it. That tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. Payton isn't worried about needing a fairer path. He's planning to win the division and secure a home playoff game the old-fashioned way. And honestly, that kind of confidence is contagious. Broncos country, there's so much to be excited about. From Bo Nix silencing the haters to our revamped offense, elite special teams, and a defense that's finally being recognized, this season is shaping up to be special. Let them keep doubting. We play better with a chip on our shoulder.